from the Last Huntsman, doing a little live session. It's Friday. Why not? And we were just talking before we started this live stream about being on the perfect quest for or being on a quest for the perfect EDC fixed blade. So I think I'm gonna let you take. I'm gonna let you start, but real quick before I do, one of my old faithfuls that I never bring up is the Lion Steel M4, the original. This is their original M390 micarta version, and it reminds me of the SC3 that you carry all the time. And it's got a great leather sheath. I've resharpened this thing so many times, and believe it or not, their M390 just takes a razor hair shaving sharp edge, and it sticks pretty well. So I'm a big fan of the Lion Steel M4.
I've actually had one of those at one point and I liked it. And for whatever reason, I traded it off. And I don't know why. But yeah, kind of like you said, the quest for the perfect EDC fixed blade. That's been something I've been doing for probably 5+ years now, is just trying to find the perfect EDC fixed blade. And I have a handful that I really like to carry. One I've been pretty impressed with lately is the Schwarz Overland. This one in Magna Cut. His work is really awesome. I'm really impressed with that one. I really like the Zeke Manacho Bushcrafter. That's a pretty awesome one. But I will say the two that probably gets carried by me the most is the Primitive Bear Knives Hunters EDC, and kind of like you mentioned earlier, and I have it on me right now, is the SE3. And honestly, anytime I get another new fixed blade to try to carry on me on a daily basis, I always compare it to the SE3. Yeah, the SE3 is like the standard, and so every other knife gets compared to the SE3.
Well, and after you brought up, after you showed me and I saw your videos, I got the Hunter's EDC. And as far as Primitive Bear Knives, formerly Papa Bear Knives, welcome guys. We're just talking about EDC fixed blades a little bit. One of that I think that design, if you look at it without a belt clip, I'm going to compare it to that Lion Steel M4 and M390. Just the thin profile of this Primitive Bear Knives Hunters EDC. You just can't beat that for something to slide like right in that back 45, right inside your belt. I love that. But it's really funny, man. I have been getting a lot of hate over this survive knives thing. I'm telling you, I have people emailing my channel's email saying that I'm helping Guy to wrangle people up to buy his knives, and I'm getting a cut and all this crazy stuff. So dude, contrary to popular belief, I never have gotten a free knife from them to. What's up, Samuel? I've never gotten a free knife from Survive Knives to test. I've actually bought the only 3 or 4 that I've owned. And I keep coming back to it. I need to put a different carrying method on it, but this is the one that I really want to send you. And guys, right now, the only thing that I can say about Survive Knives is if you buy in, the only time I've purchased from them, except for one of my pending buys, when you buy one of their in-stock items, it says it ships 0 to 15 days, and you can pick all the options just like a pre-order, of the sheath color and handle material, blah, blah, blah. I always get it. It always ships in 3 days, and then it takes about 4 to get to my place. So I always have it within a week. But the Survive EDC4 is one of my top go-tos for carry. And while we're talking about the EDC fixed blades, man, I'm gonna bring up that I was never a pocket fixed blade guy, but I've been really carrying the crap out of this since I got a new one. I got this Exodus Knife and Tool Adventure Craft for my front pocket carry, and it's just small enough, smaller than the Jackalope, that it's just, I love it, man. I get so much enjoyment out of that knife. But the funny part is you and I used to always talk about reef knives, dude. And I always and I always wanted to carry this knife more and use this knife more. And I don't know why, man. That sheath, it's a comfortable sheath to take on and off. Uh, but it's just something doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it is. It doesn't have that. It's really and what I like about Reef knives is also something I don't like about them. And I'm sure you can attest to it with the F6, but they're so thick behind the edge, dude, that sometimes I can't get a good like slicey edge on it.
Yeah, I will say
Mhm.
with my experience with reef knives, and I like them. I really like the F6. I am a little disappointed that they never offered my Carta option for guys like me that bought like a G10 version, a couple years ago, and then their solution is, well, buy a whole new knife if you want, my Carta on
Right.
it, and which that kind of really sucks. And as far as the F4 goes, I find that it's in that camp knife size range, which it's a little bigger than like an EDC belt knife, but it's not quite a
Yeah.
medium sized knife, which I've always found that like 4.5 to like 5.5 inch blade range is just kind of an awkward size because
Yeah.
like I said, it's almost too big to like EDC or especially the way I EDC, I conceal carry it. So
Right.
it's too big and bulky for that, but it's also, once you start carrying something that big, then it's kind of like, well, why don't I just carry something as big as an SE6 or something?
Right. Well, and
So
I get pissed too because, dude, I love that range. I love that range of the EDC4, the Reef F4, and then I wanted to also show you that I still have that. This is one of the ones that Reef actually sent me, which was really cool. I still got to send this to you. This is the Scandi F4 with the micarta,
I'd
but
like
I
to
don't
try
like.
it. I'm not a big Scandi guy, but every great once in a while I can find like the right Scandi that I actually do appreciate. So
Yeah. Well, welcome, guys. Pizza lover. He said I'm tempted to get a Reef F4, but I'm in Canada and it's 170 in extra duties. That is crazy, brother. And honestly,
that's
that
some Trudeau love for you right there. Trudeau sends his regards.
but yeah, there's something that I love about the true fashion, the American made, very well designed, extra length in the handle for the guys with bigger hands, or if you just want to, re-grip and remaneuver. I love the designs of the Reef knives, but I seem to end up carrying other things a lot more, and I hate that you can't get scales for them. I thought about
Yeah.
trying to mass produce like some custom micarta scales for them because I bet
Um,
they'd sell out like crazy.
I hit speaking of which, I kind of what did I just do with it? I keep losing my SE hung list somehow. But well, anyways, for my SE Hungless and my SE6, I have some of the Lucas Carroll custom grips. And I've been trying to
Dude,
convince him to make some reef scales because one, his handle scales are by far my favorite handle scales. He does like a checkered almost grip on them, kind of similar to like the Work Tough Gear Gator grip, but
yeah,
it's
I
almost
saw
better
the
than even the
texturing
Gator
on it.
grip, and it reminds me of like a pistol checkering, which is really cool. And speaking of handle scales, I think that's something that a lot of knife companies kind of goes wrong with, and that was one thing I mentioned with the Reef F6 was as with the G10, those scales were very smooth. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Like
for
baby
me,
smooth.
I like something with a lot of texture to it, like what PBK is doing with his little rock. I don't even know these textured grips.
Like Rocky Mountain tread kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Like I got farmer hands. I don't mind having some, aggressive texturing for sure.
Yeah, and that's what's funny about you sending you and I traded for, or I bought that top silent hero from you. And dude, I love the Rocky Mountain tread on that thing, especially because you wore it down.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah,
Lucas
those
Carroll
are so sick, man.
grips. And I actually, I got a spare set for my Hungless. These are Dynalux, but I'm going to be sending these to Jacob Peterson so he can try out a set of them. And
Yeah.
I asked him which ones he wanted, and he wanted the Dynalux, and I was like, well, these match my SE6 too, so.
Yeah, I love that Hungless. And when you showed your SE6 with those scales on it, I was like, dude, I want a pair of his handle scales. What's his name again? The guy that does the scales?
Lucas Carroll.
Right.
He sells them on eBay and he has a Instagram and Facebook account. So I just hit him up on either one of those, and
Yeah.
hey, what do you got? Type of thing.
Dude, this Phil's EDC said, I'm in Canada too, and it's true. He said Gabe's just waiting to make another Trudeau joke.
Oh, by the way, Phil EDC, he doesn't have a YouTube channel. I've been trying to convince him to make a YouTube channel because I think he'd actually do a pretty good job. But check him out on Instagram. He does some pretty good bushcrafty knife stuff on there as well.
Yeah,
So.
I'll check him out when we're done. I'm gonna write that down. I always keep a little notepad here for stuff like that. So, real quick, before we get on to some top brands, guys, welcome and thank you for watching, guys. This is always fun for Gabe and I to talk knives and just talk shop. I've been on a hunt. I know we are big fixed blade guys. That's mainly what my channel surrounds, but I've been on a hunt for a large size folder that was like my go-to EDC, because I like large folders. I do not like the Benchmade 940. It's a cool design and everything, but if I was gonna go with a Benchmade, I really love I don't have it right here, but I love the Benchmade Presidio 2. I thought that was hands down same price as the Bug Out. It was. Dude, I wish I had it up here right now. It's in my truck cup holder. But so a couple of the honorable mentions were the Benchmade Presidio 2 almost took the cake, but my Benchmade Adamas, I love how comfortable it is, but there's something about it and it has no dude, this is as tight as those as my pivotal go without it like locking up, and it just has no detent. I think they went a little too smooth with that heavy blade. Then I did the Microtech SOCOMs. I have the manual Tonto and the drop point auto. I do carry the auto a lot. I was thinking about sending you this, dude. There's something about it that it's a really nice, when my hands are cold or it's in the morning and I don't feel like, my hands hurt, they're cold, I don't feel like messing with something. It's just ready to go, which I really did like. And then, of course, my Spyderco, the Paramilitary 2, and my one folding knife that I've been carrying like crazy. Guys, if you do not have a lightweight Spyderco, especially with the K390, yeah, K390 Spyderco steel, I swear, I tried to patina it I tried to do a mustard patina in a design, and it wouldn't even take. I mean, you can see it very lightly. It did,
I
but that
do
was
see
with
it
one app.
slightly on there. Yeah, I
That
will
was
say.
60 minutes,
I
and
will
it
say
hardly
I've
made a
been
dent.
very impressed with the Bowler K300 series steels.
Dude,
I've used a few knives in that steel, and it's like, man, I like this. I would like to see more of that on the knife market, quite frankly. And I'm not even a big stainless fan, but the Bowler
right.
steels I do actually appreciate.
Yeah, Phil said the Benchmade 810 folding Contigo. I have my phone propped against my laptop just in case somebody says something like that. I can kind of just hit it. I just want to see a picture. But Chris Reeves, I got the large in Magna Cut with the micarta inlays, and dude, I love it for what it is. But when you spend 650 on a folding knife, I don't exactly want to be hard on it. You know what I mean? So, dude, I actually get more enjoyment. I swear to God, I get more enjoyment out of carrying this thing because it was $125 and I'll beat the crap out of it. And it happens to have a steel. Dude, this is a brash statement, but like you said, that these K300 series steels, there is something about this that impressed me. Literally, it impressed me almost more than Magna Cut has been impressing me. which is weird. I know it's a big statement, but my
Well,
most
I
recent
like Magna Cut, but I will say I think that there's others. Magna Cut has a lot of spotlight on it, but I think
right,
there's some other upcoming steels that are just as good, if not better, than even Magna Cut. Quite frankly.
right, and when they have that touch of a real masterful heat treat, you know what I mean? I think that makes all the difference because like I see all these videos and comments about people buying like a Hogue Deca and snapping the tip right off, and they're like, "What the hell?" And it's like, dude, it's a paper thin, high HRC, hardened, high end stainless steel. It's gonna be brittle, like. But I just, I settled on a Spyderco Shaman because I love Spydercos, and dude, there is something about just the way the handles form that I really like, and I happen to have uh, I'm part of Caveman EDC on Facebook, and dude, this guy had this River's Edge Cutlery exclusive, and I've been carrying this for about 3 days because I really really liked the color. But yeah, so
So
that was my rant.
for me, for about the past 5 months or so, I ended up getting a Demco 80 20.5. This is just the OS 10 version. So, I like $130 knife at best. But I've been very impressed with this thing. It's super smooth. It's fidgety. It has that shark lock. I got the kind of Warncliffe version of it because, kind of like I've explained before, I'm not like a big folder guy. I like having a folder. Honestly, you know what I use folders for most of the times is just cutting animal feed bags open to feed my goats and chickens and dogs and stuff like that. Like 9 times out of 10, that's what I'm using folders for, which is nice to use. I use folders for generally my beater knife that I don't want to, get my fixed blade all dirty or whatever. And, or I'll sometimes use my folder for like food prep and stuff.
Right. Dude, I've been using my folders for food prep lately, and I realized how nice they are for that. And I remember a couple, maybe like 2 months ago, I was messing around with my Crewwear Spyderco outside, and I started carving with it a little bit. And dude, I'm telling you, like it was I was carving like really precise notches and just whittling a little bit with it, and it just did so well at that. I was like, maybe I got folders all wrong because I used to always be about the fixed blades, especially EDC fixed blades. No matter what, I always had a fixed blade and maybe a folder. But dude, there was something about when I don't want to have a fixed, like when I go to church, I usually don't carry a fixed blade. I'll rock, like one of my folders just because I can slip it in the pocket. It's easy, but I used to never ever carry a folder. So it's really funny. I bought all those this year because before that it was never folders.
So,
Um,
back to the like EDC fixed blade topic. What are some things that you look for a EDC fixed blade, and what kind of size range do you consider a EDC fixed blade?
well, that's a really good question. Real quick, I just want to say Pizza Lova said heavy set the Bastinelli big Dragotech folder will fit you perfectly. Thoughts? Uh, I just want to make sure I don't keep missing comments. I actually have you ever heard of Bastinelli knives, Gabe? You ever see them on
I
BLT
have
Trading?
I'm
Their
pretty
fixed
sure
blades are
they're an
cool.
Italian based company. I've never
Yeah,
personally have tried one, but I have heard of and seen them before. They're more tactically oriented, if I recall right.
that's a really cool folder. Thanks for the input there. Yeah,
And
that's a cool folder. It looks
Kyle
like the
asked later or earlier too, do we ever mess with swords or just short blades? And
oh,
so a little bit about my background. I used to collect a lot of swords, and I'm talking like legit battle ready type of swords. And I even competed like with some, not on any kind of professional level, but I did do like amateur sword fighting tournaments and stuff like that at one point in time. So I used to be big on swords. And I did a video 2 or 3 years back of Melee for SHTF, and I featured some swords in it. And of course, that video never really got much views, but I thought
I'll
about
have to
doing a
look that up.
yeah, I thought about even doing like a part two because it was kind of back right before I started getting better at producing my videos. So I thought maybe a part two might actually do a little better with it and maybe put a little bit more clickbaity thumbnail and all that good stuff, right?
I think having a couple of sword length blades is important. I wish I had it right here, but I don't like it. Last time we did a live stream, I got up and down a bunch of times. But the Mountain Man from Work Tough Gear is probably the closest thing I have to a sword. But dude, when it comes to the um especially about 2 or 3 years ago, I had a really bad hankering, and every time I go to the a knife shop down the road from me called Country Knives, it's in Gordonville, PA, Bird Pennsylvania. Every time I go in there, dude, they have a wall of swords like when you first walk in, and
Mhm.
every single time I have to like pry myself away from buying a $500 sword that I just can't spend the money on right now. So yeah,
I
I think having a good sword's important.
So in my melee for SHTF video, one of the things that I kind of explained with swords and why swords can be kind of limited, especially for like a modern type of scenario, is one, obviously most of us has these on us, and so if you already have like a rifle, pistol, gear, armor, maybe and all this other stuff, a sword starts becoming very awkward to carry, and that's why even like soldiers even back in the early 1900s just stopped carrying them, was just because by the time you're carrying everything else, a sword just gets kind of awkward to carry. So there's that element. Now the other thing that I kind of mentioned in that video is, if you think about a modern situation, a lot of it's indoors in small confined houses and rooms and stuff like that, and trying to use a sword. And I demonstrated this on my video. I had like a two-handed English style longsword, and just trying to like manipulate that thing in a room, it's very awkward to do. And so if you had to like have a sword for whatever reason, or you don't have access to like a firearm Rudy Tooty Pewty type of thing, then maybe like a short sword or something like that, or even just a big knife might actually serve you better, quite frankly.
But yeah, close quarter combat in a house with a sword. That would be a tricky thing. So you talked about, you asked me my thoughts on EDC sizes and what I like. And real quick, like one of the blades that we got from Work Tough Gear that really surprised the crap out of me, and I carried quite a bit, was the Kitsune T. And yeah, the Kitsune T and the S, I believe that's the S.
Yep.
Uh, I really love that size for EDC, but I'm very weird, man. I have like real meaty hands, so to be honest with you, I hate to sound like a fanboy because we always get on this topic, but the Hunter's EDC and like the Lion Steel M4 size wise is pretty much in that, 3.5 inch blade is really my sweet spot for EDC, because I'm one of those guys where I need enough of a handle to grab on. Like, to be honest with you, there was a couple EDC knives that I bought, like oh, I'm trying to think of what it's called. Make a long story short, like that whole craze of the 3 finger grip EDC knives. So you can only
Yeah.
get 3 fingers on. Dude, I just, other than a letter opener on my desk or like a knife that I just think looks cool, it has no purpose for me. I need a
No,
full
I
handle.
never seen the appeal of that either. For me, size wise, like I kind of mentioned before, almost every EDC knife that I try to use and carry for our a fixed blade, I always kind of compare it to the SE3. The SE3 is kind of like my gold standard. And really, what I look for is something that is about a 3.5 to 4 inch blade with kind of a 8 and less overall length. Like if it's kind of in that size range, then it's perfect for me. I can easily carry that. I can conceal it. It stuffs in my pants pretty easily, and nobody ever knows I have it on me. Type of thing. And of course, knife laws vary in different places. And my relatively free state, I can conceal carry a fixed blade.
Yeah. Well, the Pizza Lover said, way too many knife companies make small, thin, slim handles. Seems like the Jackalope is the only one that pulled it off well. And what's really funny about that comment is
I
I
agree with
can't,
that comment actually very well.
dude,
Like,
I can't even tell you why though. It's because it is very thin, but when you have that thumb up there, it's even on the adventure craft, it just works,
if you're
dude.
trying to
It
do like
works.
a ninja death grip to
Hammer
it,
grip,
yeah, a
right?
hammer grip, it doesn't really like I feel that great. But if you just put that thumb up there, and the way I grip it anyways is just like right there in my fingers, I just kind of like put it in my fingers right there, and so it's not even like that much of my palm is on it, honestly. But it's such a nice comfy blade. And the jackalope is one of my top little small fixed blades for sure.
Dude, and when I saw it, I wanted one immediately, but I literally that was it. I said, dude, there's no way that that handle can be comfortable enough. And the way that see its thickness from like hilt to blade, right? That wasn't what I was concerned with. What I was concerned with was side to side. But when you really look at these knives, the reason they work, Gabe, I'm telling you, is because from side to side, not blade to hilt, but from side to side, there's enough width to get a really nice to put your thumb right on there and have like a nice width from side to side. I think that's what really saved it with Jacob's designs because they
Yeah.
are
Well,
extremely comfortable.
something about Jacob Peterson, and if you don't follow him, be sure to follow him as well on YouTube. He's an awesome channel. But he's a knife user, so he was a
Right.
knife user for a long time before he just started trying to pump out his own designs, which I feel like that makes a big difference right there. Something I like to point out with the jackalope is if you set it next to the SE3, it's almost half the width as the SE3. The SE3 is still very comfortable, and oddly, this is still very comfortable.
It like
So
defies the laws of comfortability.
it does in a lot of ways, but it pulls it off very well. Something else that I might bring up too, with like concerning EDC fixed blade, and I'll kind of throw the Kasumi here as an example. Is the Kasumi obviously is very extremely tactically oriented, although I still think it has some utility use. But let's just be realistic here. This is very tactically oriented. I don't know if I'd want to use this as like a bushcraft knife for an extended period of time versus something like, say, the SE3. I feel like the SE3 has a great balance that it can still be a very utility based knife, but also still be a great tactical knife. And so that's something that I try to look for, is something that I know has like a deep guard on it that I can still index well, but also, you know, let's just be realistic, most of us aren't fighting ninjas on a regular basis either, or I hope not. Like, you need to rethink your life's choices there if you are. But um, that being said, I like something that is kind of like balanced in that role, not geared just totally as a bushcraft knife where has these perfectly round handles and wants to rotate in your hand and doesn't index well. Or I don't want something that's just a pure tactical fixed blade that doesn't do just basic knife stuff very well either.
Yeah. And I really think that I need to get my hands on an SE3. That's just one of the things that I haven't even held one yet, which is funny. Out of all the SEs and all the EDC style knives, But another thing that I wanted to bring up when we were talking about potential top lists of knife companies is I keep circling back to my lion steels, right? And I
Hmm.
feel like one of my knives that I have not put enough time into was the T6, and that was after watching your videos of it. And then I saw the DBK guys, Dutch Bushcraft knives. They tested the I think it was K890 or some K steel
I think it was a
version. And
K 450 or something. It was some weird,
yeah,
yeah, it was some weird
right.
K Bowler K series steel, and yeah, that thing really impressed me.
Yeah.
I will say, even with my mid-size survival knife showdown, did I lose you? Oh, okay, we had a little bit of interference there. It looks like, but
Yeah, I literally just picked up my phone because it went black for a second.
oh, okay. Um, as I was saying, even with my mid-sized survival knife showdown video, the Lion Steel T6 really impressed me through that whole video series, and that's one that I come back to. I will say Lion Steel is probably the T6 and the M5 are probably my two favorite from Lion Steel that I've tried thus far.
Dude, and that's one knife that I really want to get my hands on. I saw have you ever seen Cedric and Ada, that channel? He does a
Yep.
lot of steel testing. I just freaking love that guy's channel. But he put the TRC Apocalypse against the Lion Steel M7. And that video made me want to buy the M7 so bad because my favorites is the T6. I really loved the M4, but the T6 and the T5 are just phenomenal. Phenomenal carries, great sheaths. And I'm telling you, Gabe, you and I talk about this a lot. When you can buy a knife and not have to buy a damn sheath for it. Like, oh my gosh, the amount of knives that I get where I'm like, it's perfect. The blade's perfect, but it needs scales, or the whole knife's perfect, but it needs teeth. It just drives you crazy to a certain point. When you have a lot of fixed blades like you and I do, how many times have you said, like, this would be the perfect package, but now I
Yeah.
gotta buy a $45 Kydex or whatever
I don't even necessarily mind it if the knife is
if it's
priced.
worth it.
Yeah, it priced to reflect that. But when you buy, like, say, a $300 knife and the sheath completely sucks for it or something, then that really kind of that's kind of a salty taste type of
Yeah,
thing, you
for
know.
sure. One thing I did want to bring up because I've been watching all your videos over and over again of this TJ Schwartz Overland, and I found a guy on my knife group on Caveman EDC on Facebook, guys. It's a great knife group, a lot of buy sell trade stuff, and he has your layout, but he got custom orange liners for it, man. And it looks so sharp with orange liners, and it made the handle profile a little thicker. So I was
Huh.
really trying to get my hands on it. Yeah. So I'm waiting for him to get back to me. But I
So,
think if I had to go
oh,
ahead.
as I was gonna say, just like the jackalope really surprised me on how comfortable it is, just because of how thin and narrow the handle scales are. This knife really surprised me by how comfortable it is, because as you see, there's like no contouring whatsoever on it,
Yeah.
and the scales are really thin and flat. But for whatever reason, it just fits amazingly well, and I feel like I can grab this knife and just carry it for use and whittle with it for hours and not have it bother my hands, which is just surprising. And I've kind of come to realize that, honestly, overall design and dimensions is almost more important than like Coke bottle shape and super round and contoured handles more than anything else, type of thing.
Yeah, I've been eyeing up their blades for a while, and then I went online and I had two mocked up. I had a Confidante and then an Overland. The Overland Sport, like we talked about, it's just a little too small for me. But I had 2 mocked up, and I was literally, like, gonna flip a coin and buy one, and I just kept putting it off. I have no idea why. Something just told me to keep putting it off. But I really there's something to be said about how early he was working and how long he's been working with MagnaCut. And I
Yeah,
really
he
like
was one of the first ones that I've seen that like started pumping out MagnaCut, and I
right.
don't have a
And
lot of experience with MagnaCut. I have just a few, and I know my Shores Overland. It really impressed me, and I have a new knife on the way. It's Terra Knives, the Forester
yeah,
in MagnaCut, and I'm pretty excited to try that one. I've never seen anybody do it up to 64 Rockwell though, so that might be kind of
yeah.
interesting. I hope it's not too brittle, but we'll find out,
Well,
right?
and I think depending on the type of the blade, I think it'll work fine with that because I feel like if you're doing all and when I say all cutting tasks, obviously it's a knife you're doing cutting tasks, but like I would not, obviously I would not want this in Magna Cut. You know what I mean? At all. And like that high of an HRC, but that knife that you ordered, it has more of like a shorter, more stout blade to it. So I think with that kind of design, and not a big long point to it, I think it'll be fine that high.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I feel like I just want to test more Magna Cut. I mean, I do have like one, two, I have like 3 or 4 blades of Magna Cut. I just feel like I don't know, and then all the stuff that's happening with Survive Knives, man. I've been really following that just because they've been good to me. The knives I've ordered, they were all, knives that I loved, from the EDC4 that I originally talked about in 3V. And then when I tell you guys, this was my first knife in Magna Cut, and this was one of their Cerakote sprint runs. It was an in stock order. I had it in 7 days, and it was under $300 with perfect kydex. And I think price wise, I love those guys. I know he's doing a lot of restructuring, but that was what really, really made me question how crazy this Magna Cut stuff is. Because to be honest with you, Gabe, I always say to you, I have to send you this knife, and I'm just gonna go do it either tomorrow or the next day. We're supposed to get a snowstorm. I have had and been using this knife, on a monthly basis for 8 months, couple days out of the month, I'll bang on it, take it out. When I go hiking, every time I go hiking, like on the AT during the fall and summer months, I would take it. And I swear to you, I have not even hit this thing on a strop because there's no reason to. It has the most insane, ready to go edge I have. And I'm telling you, Gabe, I've cut some very questionable things with this, and that I know it's Magna Cut and it's a thick profile. It's not like it's a folder, so it's obviously going to be strong. But that fine edge, that hair shaving edge, it
Mhm.
literally has the same edge on it right now that it did when I took it out of that box. And I just don't understand. I literally don't understand how that works. I mean, when I bought this in 3V, I watched a bunch of test videos. Watched all your videos. But when I was done doing like a 4-day hike on the Appalachian Trail, I think it might be still in there, right there. I have a little hang up. It was just a little chip or roll. The edges on these lion steels are laid back pretty good. They're pretty thin behind the edge for a big knife. Mine is anyway. But there was a lot of dawing and stuff, like, not too much for 3V, but a normal amount. So it was like, okay, it's not it was before I really knew a lot about steels and had tested a lot of 3V, and I was like, okay, this isn't that unbelievable as far as edge retention goes. But the Survive knife, Magna Cut scares me, dude. I don't understand how it's still that shaving sharp.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the favorite brands and stuff, and um, what's a couple brands that you like, and with those brands, what's things that you would like to see them do in the future?
Mm. Um, You know what? I think I'm gonna go back to Lion Steel. One of my favorite brands, guys, is Lion Steel. For the money, what you're getting, yeah, I wish they had Kydex, and a lot of people, OS Kydex, Armitage Carry, all these places make Lion Steel Kydex for like 50, 55 bucks for a basic model of Kydex. But this is the Lion Steel T5. Just one of my favorite blades, fixed blades ever. I just rebuffed it and sharpened it. So it literally, every time I throw it on my buffing wheel with a little bit of green compound, it looks brand new. But um, I think it's time. Lion Steel kind of took a shift and they were focusing on folders a little bit. And they just came out with a folder called the Skinny at SHOT Show. And
Hmm.
dude, it's really cool. You gotta check it out. Lion Steel Skinny. It's a really sick folder design and it's pretty affordable. But for what you're buying and the steel and the HRC and how they're from their design to their heat treat to their usable sheaths, I think I really, really have to settle with Lion Steel for one of my top three companies. That being said, what I'd like to see is a new model. It's just time. You know what I mean? It's been about maybe two years of the like T6, the T5, the M4. I think it's time to do another. I think
I
more
would like to
more
see a
so.
large chopper come out of Lion Steel. That would be cool.
Yeah,
Like something in 9-inch blade or so. That would be kind of
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Their
Especially if it had
M7
like a
is sick,
similar
but bigger.
handle as like the T6 or something. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are either kind of love them or hate them, but based off of my experience, I just can't get enough. I think I'm gonna pull the trigger on that M7 and do some testing on it just to add it to my collection.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah,
One
let's go back and forth. So you give me one of your top brands.
One of my top brands that I've been using for a long time is Essie. I really like Essie. I have a handful of Essies, but one thing that I would really love to see with Essie, and it's something that I've complained about for a while, is I would I think Essie should always do their 1095 just basic models. But I would
Yeah,
love to see Essie come out with a like CPM 3V slash Magna Cut premium version of a lot of their knives. And I know what a lot of people are going to say right off the bat is, "Oh, look at Architect knives. Look at Architect knives." And it's like those are cool, and I want
dude,
to try one.
me
Like
too.
to be honest, I want to try one, but they're not an SE. Like they
Right.
have a totally different balance and feel and stuff like that. And even with the Architect knives, the uh, two that really kind of um, um, kind of didn't really impress me is the Architects 3 and the 3.5. And the 3 just because it's like too thin really for my liking. But then the 3.5, it's like, man, that would be perfect for, an EDC fixed blade. But then they put the SE6 handle on it, and so you
Right.
have this long handle for this knife blade that's like 3.5-inch blade, and it's
It
just
was not
doesn't.
proportional. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. I think they kind of. I'd be willing to bet that that's probably one of their least selling models right there. But I would like to see SE come out with a premium, and I would call it like the SE Elite, and it has like top tier scales, a nicer sheath, and
Uh,
like CPM 3V. And I wouldn't even care if it was like a $250-$300 price point. I
yeah, I
it,
definitely agree.
um
I think I
another
really need to get my hands on an SE3.
another thing I would like to see sometime in the future, and I don't know what company or brand or something, but somebody to produce my knife design here. I'd be very happy with that. That would be pretty cool. Um,
I really want to test that thing out, man. I love
I
the leather, the shape, the design, everything.
I will definitely whenever I get my initial video done, I will definitely send this your way, and I'll let you play with it for a little while and kind of get your
Yeah.
feel for it, because some of the things that kind of got my inspiration for it was the handles are kind of very Becker-ish. I like the Becker style handles, and
Love them.
obviously didn't copy the Becker, but it does kind of have that feel and look to it. And then, as you see, the blade is wider up here than it is down here, so it actually has a little bit of forward momentum to it, which is pretty cool.
Kyle said in the comments, looks like a pirate sword.
Well, pirate swords,
I
I think, was generally a cutlass, but yeah.
Yeah. I really want to test it out. I just feel like that front the front 2 inches of that tip. Let me see here. The front 2 inches of that extra belly, not only for chopping, but I there's something that knife that I sent you in my giveaway that you won in my giveaway, the uh
Joker.
Joker
Nomad.
Nomad. I love knives that have a really rounded front, almost like the mountain lions, just a lot of workable like 45 angle on that tip. Yeah, just like that, but I like the fact that yours has more. I like a very rounded full tip like that. There are knives that I like that are a little more pokey and piercy, but yeah. So I'm
Speaking of
excited to try
Pokey
it out.
Piercy, the primitive bear knife, bush bear, uh, this thing is very pokey and piercy, and it's just like a classic spear point. Speaking of favorite brands, Primitive Bear Knives is definitely one of my favorite makers. And he really knocked it out of the park with these bush bears. I tell him constantly he needs to make more of these. These are
Dude, I know. I've been dying to get my hands on one.
Yeah, he needs to overhaul the Bush Bears for sure. I know another model that he has that he just came out with recently, and he has some pre-orders up for it. Is
Yeah.
the Swamp Bear, and that one actually looks really cool. I kind of wish I can get one, but I need to not spend so much money on knives right now.
Yeah, I think that the swamp bear is in my mind almost. What was the blade of his that you sent to Scab? What was that one called again? The
The Essential.
I feel like it's like a beefed up more survival knife like carryable survival knife size of that because I like the little clip point on the end.
I
I really want to check that out.
I like it, the Essential, but it has that really deep clip on it, which just makes the tip very fine and precise, and which is cool in a lot of ways. But for like bush and just everyday use, it's not exactly the most practical. And the Swamp Bear to me looks more like a practical user
Yeah.
blade.
I uh I have to while we're on, I have to mention of one of my top brands, and I know you get a lot of enjoyment out of them too, is Work Tough Gear. They look out for the little guy. They've been sending me stuff since my channel started getting a little bigger, and they take good care of me, and I love their designs, man. And I love the fact that every time I've gotten a knife from them, I feel like Vic Lynn's just like do whatever you want with it. And anybody that takes the time to be personal and answer emails and send out knives to some smaller channels like us, there's an aspect to that. There's an aspect to that caliber of a company where you're not like, okay, some of the sprint run stuff is annoying. Sometimes it's hard to get some of their blades. I mean, if you know when the drops are, you can usually get one. But yeah, there's something about those guys that I feel like they're just doing a lot of stuff right, and it seems to me, Gabe, that especially with the packages that you and I got recently to test out, I feel like their fit and finish is just getting better and better, man. I really do. And
I
their
will
grind.
agree with that. Work Tough Gear is one of my favorite um, knife companies for sure. I'll actually just straight up say I think some of my favorite models from Work Tough Gear thus far, from ones that I've tried and tested and stuff, is the Wolverine, uh, the Red Wolf. I really like the Red Wolf, the V44X, and the probably last but not least, the bushcrafter, nomad
I
bushcrafter.
love
I
that
think
thing.
those models have been kind of my favorite from Work Tough Gear. And the thing about Work Tough Gear is, you're kind of looking into like mid 100 to mid 200 price range. But honestly, if this level of fit and finish was produced here in the United States, they'd be a 3, 4, maybe even pushing $500 knife, in
Right.
my honest opinion. And so
Yeah.
I feel like the value is actually there for Work Tough Gear, and I actually really like Work Tough Gear. And kind of like you said, I feel like even in just the last year, their fit and finish has gotten just better and better and better.
And said about the I think their Kydex is getting better too, because once in a while I'd get one of their designs that would be a little bit funny with the Kydex, or there'd be a little bit of rattle. But all their newer iterations I've been getting, their Kydex I think has been getting better too. So one of my things with them
Sorry.
is like Aurora Borealis. You're right, Aurora Borealis, man. I swear to you, yeah, that was one of my favorites. It actually really was. When did you
Like,
get that?
Scab actually sent me this one. So
Good
he sent
old
me this
Scab.
one.
Shout out to Scab, dude.
Yeah, Scab is an awesome dude. If you don't follow Choir Boys Outdoors, you're wrong. So go follow
You're
Choir
wrong.
Boys Outdoors. But yeah, he sent me this. This is the Carnivore. I think it's the Gen 2 Carnivore. And
Oh,
I
it
didn't
is
know
the
what
Gen 2.
I didn't
It
know what to
is.
think of this one, but then I got it in hand and it's like, man, this thing actually feels very nice. I mean, it's like a tactical bushcraft kitchen knife, basically. But, sometimes simple is better. So
Dude, and I have their first variant of it, and when I got it in my hand and realized how big that handle is, dude, it's so crazy big, but there's something freakishly comfortable about it. And that's I don't have it up here, but the Tayal, shout out to Vic Lynn for his design. The Tayal and Red Wolf handles, man. I told you the other day, I just think they're one of the most comfortable handle designs
I
ever.
agree. I agree. I,
But
I, I will say handle comfort, the tail Red Wolf is very comfortable. And yep, the Wolverine,
dude,
very comfortable handle. I mean, actually, one video I was thinking about doing was comparing this to the Reef F6. And don't get me wrong, I really like the Reef F6, but ergonomically and just design
dude,
wise, I actually think this will outperform it. And I hate to say that, but it's just there. One of the things with the Reef F6 that I pointed out in my review is I don't think there's enough flare towards the end of the handle, and
yes.
so it's almost too broomstick like, and it just wants to kind of continuously slide out, especially with those smooth G10 grips on there.
Well, I'm the reason I really, really love your design, and from the Beckers to the Work Tough Gear line, and what's that called? Lion Steel, is, guys, I cannot stress enough when I have a heavy blade and my hands are getting fatigued, and and they're wet and cold, that bird's beak at the end, that the butt finger choil, the bird's beak they call it, right at the end, that little flare out, I feel like it is a very important aspect for any knife over 5 inches. And I think that it drives me crazy that Reef didn't implement that on the F6. The F4 is fine without it because that's not a big knife that I'm going to be swinging. But when you look at like the Lion Steel T6, has a really nice gradual one, and Work Tough Gear has especially Aurora Borealis's models. They just have a real good way of doing things where I feel like, I have pretty meaty paws, but this thing is just, even if my hand was bigger, it would be not just such a nice enclosed grip between that finger choil and that bird's beak. I just, I'm telling you, man, I have every one of Aurora Borealis's designs, and I told him, by the time he's done, I'll have every one of them because every single one of his designs I'm just such a big fan of as far as the ergonomics and just the usability. And I love that all their knives are razor sharp spines.
Hmm. I will say, I'll go out on a limb here, but I will say Alex with the Aurora Borealis knives is probably one of my favorite designers through Work Tough Gear. Like I like a handful of the designers, but if I could only pick one, I'll say the Aurora Borealis knives are probably my
Yeah, for
favorite.
sure. So, Splitting Slices says, absolutely agree about Work Tough Gear. Both knife designs and sheaths. I had to pass on the Wolverine drop last night. Got to get the Mountain Man or Grizzly after having the PWB9. He said, Scab's probably lurking. I enjoy the concept of the bird's beak on the handle and the anti slip grip, but the inner grip distance has to accept large paws. And I agree, man. I don't have enormous hands, but I got really fat hands. I mean, like, I saw a bunch of videos about the SOCOM Elite, and then when I put it in my hand, I was like, oh man, I thought the handle was going to be like sticking out a half inch. It's so funny how you and Gabe, you can attest to this. How many times have you seen the specs of a knife and
Mhm.
watched a million reviews, but you don't know how big it's gonna look and feel until it's in your hand? It's so funny.
Well,
Sometimes I'll spec it out in paper
it's kind of
too. Like,
interesting you bring that up, and it's why something, if you notice with a lot of my reviews, I don't do it all the time, but I have been trying to do it. Is anytime I test a knife or review a knife, I'll have like a little section of video where not only do I kind of go over some of the basic specs, but also I compare it to another knife that's a similar size, that's a more common knife. Like I'll show like the Schwarz next to like an SE3, so people could kind of visualize, because when you have like say the SE3 next to it, more people can relate to the SE3 than they can the Schwarz. So then that kind of gives a more, I feel like a more accurate depiction of like the size and scale of the knife.
yeah, I just deleted an interesting comment. It said you're fat, and dude, my channel's called HeavySet Tactical.
It's
What
called
the
Heavy
hell do
Set
you?
Tactical for a
What the
reason.
hell do you think, there, son? Jesus Lord. But yeah, and that's I one of the things about my channel that's really funny, Gabe, is always been a big knife and gun and gear guy. And one of the things I wanted to do in my channel, dude, it's hard to find the right pieces of gear being shaped the way that I am. Seriously. So I actually called it Heavyset Tactical because I was gonna have a segment like every other couple days of gear that I have purchased and found that fits me really well. You know what I mean? Being a
Mhm.
bigger guy. And that's why I always talk now. I didn't used to bring it up, but in my newer videos, I always talk about how certain knives I really like the way that they carry because when I sit down, I got a muffin top, bro. It's in the way. You know what I mean? It's hard to
Yeah.
carry a concealed firearm sometimes, depending on what and where, and knives. That's why, the Adventure Craft from Jacob Beach at Exodus Knife and Tool, produced by White River Knives. That's why I love the pocket fixed blade so much. Every other pocket fixed blade is like a three-finger grab, but this one is just nice and full grip, and I can put it right in the pocket. But something I wanted to bring up, Gabe, that I'd really like you to check out, just because it's an interesting piece. I think I'm gonna send you the 5.1 and this week, just for S's and G's, shits and giggles. This was a knife that I had made custom by Rob Evans. Um, from RJ Evans, Rob Evans from he has a channel. If you type in oh my goodness gracious. He would kill me
I remember
if I
you
forgot
showing me
that.
that knife before.
Yeah, so his channel is I have it right here. His channel name is Rob Evans Woodsman. And this was a knife that I had him make me in RWL 34, and it's just a really really cool piece. I have not done my full review yet, but just a really cool like Puko style bushcraft knife, and I would love to get some of your perspective on it. I think it's just a really cool blade. He makes the sheaths too.
Yeah.
That nice loop stitch on there. Just a great, and he takes the time to wet form them. And his work with the micarta, the smooth polished micarta is just excellent as well. But it's the
Speaking of
sharpest gear I've done ever.
Speaking of sheaths, you need to try to get a leather sheath made
I know.
by Spirit of the Bear. He
Oh,
made one for me, and okay, yeah,
I have one. I mean, it's just for the jackalope, but dude,
yeah,
that sheath right there, literally, Gabe, that sheath right there with your logo on it and the texturing, everything. I literally would have paid $300 for that sheath, like
yeah.
that level of
Um,
leather.
his leather sheaths like half make me almost not even want to go back to Kydex, like
Right.
just the way his leather sheaths are.
Sorry, I had to grab something. But yeah, his leather sheath execution as far as color and design. If I were to what is his name? Mike? Isn't it
Michael
Michael?
Spangers.
Mike Spangers. Mike Spangers. Guys, Mike Spangers, Spirit of the Bear on Instagram. His leather work is second to none. His leather work, guys, is like my, if I were to think up how I would perfectly execute a leather sheath, from color to size to shape to finish, every single aspect, what I think my perfect leather sheath would be. Look at that. Like, nobody's doing that. Now, as an honorable mention though, if anybody has a bussy and they want a genuine handmade leather sheath, just because if he saw this video, I feel like he would be disrespected. Ramos Customs, um ramoscustoms.com. This is a sheath that I found on a bussy page. It was for my team Gemini.
That's one
um
I'd like to try out. Honestly, I'd
Yeah,
like to
dude,
try
I'm
it.
gonna send you this and the GSO 5.1. I think those are the two that I have. Yeah, well, I'm gonna do it this week, I promise.
Okay.
But yeah, Ramos custom leather, really awesome double button snap up top. Just a really great design. It is a very, very thick, triple wall sheath, but it,
I
it
do like the
carries
way
really nice.
that sheath is very nice, by the way.
Dude, it carries great. He had it done for me in 4 days, dude. Literally 4 days it was in the mail coming to me. So yeah, I had to shout him out. But guys, Michael Spangers at Spirit of the Bear Leather, um, um, Spirit of the Bear Designs, because I think he does some artwork and stuff too, right?
Yes, he does. He actually helps people do like logos, and he's just a great artist and craftsman in general. But I don't know if I lost you again or not.
Oh, sorry
No, it's
about that,
fine.
buddy.
I might have to send you the shores too. I'll let you try
Dude,
it.
I have to feel one before I buy it,
Yeah,
and I
I
really
think you'd
want to check
like
it
it.
out.
I think you would like it quite a bit. But we are going over an hour now, so I think it's
Yeah,
time we
I
kind
was just I every time I do this, I always get a bunch of phone calls. So yeah, I really want to thank you for doing this with me. I don't care if guys, we don't care if four people. Oh, what's up, Walker? One of my old buddies from work, man. Just hopped on. Guys, I think it's important that and I Jacob Peterson has said this a little bit in a couple of his videos. I think it's important that we have relationships between the channels and send each other stuff and have morale like that, as opposed to having these comment wars about, survive knives or what's going on with politics or blah, blah, blah. So I really, really appreciate you, Gabe. Always keeping the conversation going in our Instagram messenger.
yeah. If you want, I can send this out to you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna send out. We have a snowstorm coming, but I don't know if it's gonna be bad. It's either gonna be a little or a lot. I'll send out the GSO 5.1, and this is brand new, my bussy. But you know me, man. You can beat the snot out of it if you want.
So stab it through car doors and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
yeah. Just I was gonna say just don't snap the tip, but I doubt that's gonna happen. Did you see Jacob?
yeah,
baton
no,
his
he beat the
Hellraiser.
ever living piss out of his
Dude, it
bussy.
was like this,
Yeah,
and then
it
it
was
came
like,
out, and it only had a curve in it. Crazy.
yeah,
Jacob, you're nuts. I love it. It's we have a big Joe X size hole in YouTube right now, so I feel like you know, I feel like any crucial torture testing is always a positive thing.
yeah.
Like Scab said, dude, Scab from Choir Boys Cutlery, there is value in every kind of review.
I'd say
So,
almost
oh,
every review.
yeah, you're right. Almost.
We'll leave a small
Right.
caveat there because there.
Yeah, you know who I want to put on blast right now. But
Yeah.
dude, one more thing, guys. I have a bunch of knives that I'm going to be selling soon, and I might do like a live thing, or you guys can email me for a list of knives that I'm selling. But dude, one knife I'm going to add to that list I'm sending you is the Spelter M311 in LMAX from Acta Non-Verba Knives. I think it's one of the best like military slash survival knives, but I just keep not getting around to testing it. I would love your opinion on it.
Okay.
Just a sick knife, yeah.
Yeah. I'd gladly try it out.
Yeah.
And like I've
All right,
always
brother.
told you, if there's anything of mine that you see that you want to try, hit me up and I'll send it your way.
Yeah. Yeah, that Schwartz has really been calling my name. I just feel like I gotta hold one before I pull the trigger. I don't know.
I
You know me, I'm
understand.
all goofy.
I understand. But thanks for having me on. It's been fun
Yeah.
chatting it up. And maybe
Always,
we'll
brother.
try this in a week or two.
Sounds
We'll
good,
pick up
Gabe.
on some
Have a
more
good night, all right?
topics. And actually,
And thank Sorry,
actually,
go
I
ahead.
might do like a community post for people, and you might even do the same. And we'll just ask people topics that they'd like to see us discuss on a live stream. That might
Yeah.
be interesting.
Yeah, and maybe get some during the week, and then we'll answer them at the end of the week when we do it. Yeah.
Mhm.
And thank you guys. Splitting Slices. We got Kyle. We got Pizza Lover. All you guys, thank you very much. Phil's EDC. I'm gonna have to check out him on Instagram. Guys, I'm John from HeavySet Tactical. This is Gabe from The Last Huntsman. Two guys that just love knives, and we do not make a salary testing and reviewing these knives. These are just honest opinions of what's going on with the blades that we buy and test. So come check us out. Thanks, Gabe.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, brother.